Major League Baseball arguments banned from TV. What do I mean? I'll explain later. Tom Brady is thinking about retirement. It's closer than he thinks. Really? And I'm going to go in. Cole Sports presents On the Daily. Thank you for joining me. I'm Cole Johnson, and wow, the March to 1000 is real, and y'all are helping me get there. Thank you so much. But enough of the platitudes. Let's get on with the show. Maestro, topic of the day. No, it's Monday. No. We're going rapid fire. Now, for those who haven't joined me, Rapid Fire, I'm going to go through a few different topics really quick. So first, I'm going to go to the MLB offices, or Major League Baseball, where they had an interesting video that went viral of the Mets and the Dodgers, where a pitch was thrown behind a Dodgers batter. A Mets pitcher was tossed. You heard the, I would say argument, but really it was like a discussion and an explanation between the umps and the players. Then you saw the Mets manager, Terry Collins, blow a gasket. And so the crew chief went over and the two got into a heated discussion, but basically it was the ump letting the manager vent. Great video, but the commissioner of Major League Baseball, Rob Manfred, had to pull it. And why did he have to pull the video? Because it was collectively bargained for that type of incident to not be aired to the public. Email NFL. Subject of email. Get the message. Body of email. Now, do you see how Major League Baseball does it? The players and the owners get together, they talk about these issues, and they actually walk it out, because you see, it would make Major League Baseball even more interesting if that video kept circulating, because we get to love the behind the scenes stuff. But if you all don't want to see that, you all have the temerity to actually ask for the ownership in the league to not air stuff like that. And you know what else you'll get? Better salaries. You know what else you'd get? You would actually get your own voice being heard. Yeah, something that makes baseball, something that the NBA, and even something to a lesser degree the NHL gets, but something that you don't. Oh, I'm sorry. This is rapid fire, so I got to cut this short. Get with the program and contact each other. You'll get further along than you already have, or that you'll always have, if you all gonna think that you have to be on one side and the other, and the two don't meet. Cole Johnson, Cole Sports, ColeSports.com. Turning our attention to Oprah. Now, why am I talking about Oprah? Well, she invited five-time Super Bowl winner Tom Brady onto her show, and he said a few things that was really interesting. One of them was when it came to the anthem, and when it comes to the anthem, he says, you have to respect everybody's right to do whatever they want. He basically said that they all come from all walks of life, and that you have to respect everybody where they are. And if you don't, well, that's an issue. But if you do, you'll get further. It's funny how you have a veteran quarterback actually get it, but you have septuagenarians and octogenarians, they don't get the memo, but that's okay. He also went on to say that retirement is closer than he thinks, but he still feels like he's going to play. He's been on record as saying that he feels like he can play until he's about 45, but thinking along those lines of retirement is in the back of his head. And of course, Giselle is saying to him, get out the sport. I got you. I make a whole lot of money. You don't have to even be on the field anymore. Well, there you go. But the savior for the Patriots is thinking retirement. And Robert Kraft is probably going, mm-hmm, after hearing that statement. Turning our attention to the NHL, and we've been talking about the Capitals, but this is not such a good piece of news. Ottawa Senators assistant general manager Randy Lee was suspended by the league for lewd comments and rubbing shoulders with and on a 19-year-old male. Now, when are we going to get the message that we cannot usurp authority on other individuals? When is it going to be the time where we actually respect human beings for who they are? It doesn't matter if it's man on woman, woman on man, woman on woman, or man on man. It doesn't matter. You have to respect one another. And hopefully we will see more of these things happen until they stop altogether. We close rapid fire on a sad note. Zebo, or Zach Randolph, the longtime Memphis Grizzly, of course also former Trailblazer, received news earlier this week that his brother, Roger Randolph, 35, was shot and killed about 60 miles northeast of Indianapolis. Now, they said that Roger was dealing with a few law issues, but this wasn't a police thing. This was a altercation that existed between himself and somebody else. And actually, Zach was at that event too. It was at a club. He was questioned, but he wasn't detained. But it doesn't matter. What does is we are so sorry, Zebo. We, Co-Sports and VIPs of Co-Sports, we are fans of yours. And we send you and your family the deepest of sympathies and condolences. Jesus said that, blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. I hope that you and the rest of your family find comfort at this time. When I return, I'm going to go in. Coming up on tomorrow's On the Daily, we're going to touch on probably the biggest sports story involving the World Cup until now, Mexico and Germany. And we're going to go, and that was then, we're going to touch on a Michael Jordan episode. That's tomorrow. But we'll savor that for later. Today, the NBA has been all about, well, where is LeBron going to be, because there's 7 teams that are vying for his services for the 2019 season. But what we got reminded about, though, was this past week and weekend, there may be another person that is going to enter the fray. He's not a free agent, but he may demand a trade. Kawhi Leonard, with you, sir. I'm about to go in! Now, there were some articles written, one by Chris Haynes, a staff writer for ESPN, where he said that there were sources close to Kawhi who said that he just was not wanting to be a part of the San Antonio machine anymore and wanted to be traded and demanded one. The part that gets me is that he didn't do it face-to-face with Greg Popovich or any of the Spurs front office. No, he did this probably from email or text or phone call from San Diego, that's where he lives, and is rehabbing. Now, why am I going in on this? It's real simple. You, sir, are the number one player on the team. You are their MVP candidate. You can actually fly to San Antonio and meet with Greg Popovich, and it said that Popovich was tending to family business and he couldn't be in San Antonio. But you two could get together at some point in the summer because, well, your summer started last month. You could have taken care of this long before now. But no, you had to drag this on and not speak with organizational members, let alone Pop, just not speak to anybody. Now, why am I calling you out on this? Well, hey, I'm guilty of doing the same thing. So regard this as sort of like a mirror thing for me. I know the tactic. I know the tactic well. You don't trust them. I don't blame you. You think that they're going to stab you in the back, which you feel as though they have. Why else would you feel salty when after you got misdiagnosed with an injury report by the team doctors that you wanted a second opinion and the Spurs organization said, no, sucker, you ought to play. So I get that you're salty. Brush the salt aside. Stand up, be a man, be accountable, and take the medicine. You have 1 year left on the contract, and you stand to make over $200 million over the next 5 years if you sign on the dotted line this offseason. Versus the next 2 if you were to sign after next year, or if you get traded and sign next year, or if they release you after next year, I should say, if they don't even want to negotiate with you after next year, you will earn up to $70 million less in your contract's lifespan. So you want to play in LA. Why don't you say that to them? Don't have any reps talk to them. Don't say it in other means. Why don't you say it to them? And if so, bravo. And I will talk about what I think about Kawhi to the Lakers and other players to the Lakers on Wednesday's episode and upon further review. But back to you, Kawhi. You've known about this situation, I would say probably as early as December. You could have talked with Pop then. And I'm not going to let the Spurs organization off the hook either. They could have come to you. I mean, it wasn't as if that you were away from the team all of last year. You actually had a chance to be with them. So you could have talked with them. Pop could have talked with you. Or the front office could have talked with you. But it never happened. And see, this is the same issue that I have with the NFL and the owners and the players. Y'all get in your feelings. You're like, and then they go into separate corners. Well, that's the same thing that's happening here. Stop going to separate corners. Congregate and speak. You got this. Use both of them. But if you want to play with the Lakers, why don't you go to San Antonio and say, look, I believe I got all the chips and the leverage. I want out of here. I don't want to play in San Antonio anymore. And I don't care if people are burning my jerseys, which they already are. I don't really care. I just want to play at home. They may dislike you, but they probably will say, fine, we'll respect you even more because you actually came to us and said it. Instead of using family members or agents or any other person representing you to say it. Spurs fan, and I have it on great authority with a couple of them, are through with you because you seem to want to take a passive-aggressive approach to getting yourself out of San Antonio. Besides, they come from Atlanta, David Robinson and Tim Duncan, Spurs lifers. They were drafted by the Spurs, they retired the Spurs. And now they got 2 more where that's going to happen with Manu Ginobili and Tony Parker. So you have a culture built on the Spurs supposedly being the stalwart franchise of the NBA, the model franchise, and now you're poking holes in the model. Stop with that. Now, I'm not a Spurs fan, but stop with that. Patch those holes up and make amends. Because your legacy should be far greater than you pouting, wanting to go and play on the left coast. Give it pop, talk with it, talk it over. And if you end up re-signing with them, all the greater and all the better. But at least meet with them. Talk with them. You'll get much further that way. If you happen to like this episode or any other episode that you have seen thus far, subscribe to Cole Sports on the Daily. Every Monday through Saturday, you'll get at least one of these a day, and you all have said that you've enjoyed it. I'm hearing from you, and I want to represent more of what you want. So come on and give it to me. And speaking of giving it to me, give me what you think. Go on Instagram. No, not right now, when this video is over, for the question of the day. And the question for today is, I'm not going to give that to you here. You got to go to Instagram at Cole Sports with a Z and find out what that is. It's real simple. And you never know, I may pop up and do a live. You know, that's what I feel, you know, because I want to know what you're talking about. I want to know what's on your mind. I want to know what's the pulse of what you as the fan want. That is what I want to do, being that you are my VIP, and I want to treat you with as much class and respect as you deserve and as you desire. So I thank you from the bottom of my heart, and the march to 1,000 subscribers is real. I thank you, and I thank you. That's all the time I have. Thank you for joining me on this episode. For all the sportsmen and sportswomen all around the world, I'm Cole Johnson, and this is yet another edition of Cole Sports on the visual and on the daily.